So, welcome to Midweek Experiments in Faithfulness. This is a weekly facilitated spiritual practice with a Quaker flavor and an experimental ethos. My name is Jen, and I'm the program manager here at Beacon Hill Friends House, where I live and work. The Friends House is a Quaker center for learning and action and a residential community of about 20 people who live according to Quaker values. And tonight we have Lilia Fick with the practice Gratitude as Prayer. So tonight, Lilia will invite us along for an exploration of the practice of gratitude and how that practice has evolved along the way for Lilia. So Lilia Fick, who uses she, they, or a pronouns, lives on the unceded territory of the Algonquin people in a place commonly known as Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. She has been a lifelong Quaker and tries to let her life speak. She's a member of Ottawa Monthly Meeting, Canadian Yearly Meeting, and Canadian Young Friends Yearly Meeting. Since the pandemic hit, she has felt incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to travel to many yearly meetings, Quaker conferences, gatherings, and workshops, and to attend Pendle Hill's daily meeting for worship, all from the comfort of her own home. So again, welcome. We're happy that you've joined us, and Lilia, it's all yours.
Thanks so much, Jen, and welcome everyone. So first, I want to just take a moment of silence because I want to invite Spirit in to be, so that I'm a vessel for that. So my journey with gratitude as a form of prayer started when I was, I'm not sure what age, but my parents would ask, "What are you grateful for?" And that was where it began. And my mom was, she studies positive psychology, and gratitude is one of the key indicators of happiness and resilience. So I started out with having a gratitude journal, which allows for that flow of gratitude, which when I first started, it was just like very basic things. That was what was the things that came out, which seemed strange initially, because it would be, I'm grateful for my bed. I'm grateful for the blankets on my bed. I'm grateful for the air. And most of the time we just take those for granted. So, yeah, but that really does shift one's mindset, because we tend to focus on the negative as part of our like primitive brain. We latch on to the things that might be a threat. So, and there could be 100 things that are really positive, but we'll latch on to the thing that is negative in the day, and that will be what we'll focus on that day. So when we practice gratitude, then we are able to shift our mindset so that we're able to be more attuned to those things that are positive in our day that we just otherwise sweep over. And I don't remember exactly whether it was from Parker Palmer's book, The Courage to Teach, but I received the invitation to start a gratitude practice with a friend, so that we would do 3 gratitudes a day with that one friend. So my friend Amber and I started a gratitude practice, but that has evolved to it's more periodic. We didn't stick to just 3 a day. And when I first did it with Amber, when I had with the 3, it was just that I had to say, like, there's so much to be grateful for that it's actually hard to just narrow it down to 3. But the way that Amber and I practice it is that we'll practice gratitude as a form of prayer by sharing both gratitudes and also what did I do well today. Another form of gratitude is that my friend Adam, when I worry about things, at one point I was feeling concerned about COVID and about my family getting COVID. And so instead of focusing on what we don't want to have happen, he encouraged me to give gratitude for what we do want to have happen and trust that that will come. So instead of focusing and dwelling on, I'm concerned that one of my parents might get COVID because they have pre-existing health issues and they're dear to me. Instead, we would go into silence and into prayer and say, thank you, dear God, for looking after my family, for allowing for us to have the nourishment that we need in terms of food, that we have a wealth of community that helps us to stay healthy. Thank you for the medical system that will provide the help that we need if any of us get to that point. And it's really, for me, prayer has also evolved, both the sense of gratitude and prayer. That gratitude, initially I had some resistance to that practice of kind of being asked, what are you grateful for? Because it took a little while to get over that initial feeling of, you want to think about like a really big thing, and sometimes that hasn't happened yet in your day, but it's important to be grateful for those little things. And you can hear my kitty cat in the background. So with prayer, that has also really evolved, where it used to be that I had an image of someone kneeling beside their bed and was praying to God in that fashion, even though that wasn't how we did it in our family. And my prayers were often, please, dear God, please make this situation go this way that I want it to go. Or please, dear God, please allow me to have this thing that I really want. And to shift that from that energy to saying, thank you, dear God, for all that I have, or just having faith and trust that what I need will be answered. So I also, a friend of mine, David, at one point shared in Meeting for Worship that he knows that his mom prays for him. And when he was saying that, he said that she thinks of him throughout the day and knows that she is wishing him well. And for me, when I first heard that as a form of prayer, that wasn't the kind of prayer that I knew about. For me, prayers were, please, dear God, or please look after my son. He's struggling, or whatever. But to have the idea that somebody that cares about someone else, having them just think about someone, have someone pop into their mind and just feel those feelings of connection and love, that was a form of prayer. I found that to be really beautiful. So I'm going to share a quote with you, which is Melody Beatty, who shared this. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It turns problems into gifts, failures into successes, the unexpected into perfect timing, and mistakes into important events. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Gratitude turns negative energy into positive energy. There is no situation or circumstance so small or large that it is not susceptible to gratitude's power. And I am an early childhood educator by training, and I used to have a home daycare. So I really put one of the areas that I put a lot of care into, in particular, was choosing out books for the children. So I have a love for children's books, and I'm going to read you part of a book called Granddad's Prayers of the Earth. And this book has really expanded my my idea and my relationship to prayer. So Granddad's Prayers of the Earth by Douglas Wood and P.J. Lynch. I'll read it and then show you the pages. When I was little, my granddad was my best friend. Being with him always made the world seem just right. Granddad and I liked to go for walks in the woods together. We didn't walk very far or very fast or very straight. While we walked, I would ask him questions about things I wasn't sure of. Why is it, Granddad? I would ask. And what if? And does it ever? One day, I asked my granddad about prayers. For a long time, Granddad was quiet. He didn't say anything until we came to the tallest trees in the forest. And then he answered with a question. Did you know, boy, he whispered, that trees pray? I listened closely, but I couldn't hear them. See how they reach for the sky, he said. They reach and reach for clouds and sun and moon and stars. And what else is reaching for heaven but a prayer? I thought about trees and kept listening for them. And while I thought, I sat down on an old mossy rock. Rocks pray too, said Granddad. Pebbles and boulders and old weathered hills. They are still and silent, and those are two important ways to pray. I thought hard about the rocks. I picked up a pebble and stuck it in my pocket. We walked a little farther and came to a small stream. The water splashed and sparkled, and tiny fish hovered in the shadows. Do streams pray too, Granddad? I asked. Streams pray too, he answered, and lakes and rivers and waters of all kinds. Sometimes they pray silently, like the rocks. They lie still and calm, reflecting clouds or birds or sunsets or the first evening star. Sometimes they pray with movement, flowing across the face of the earth, giving themselves to the ocean, giving themselves to the sky, and beginning their journey all over again. Sometimes waters pray with laughter, chuckling to their friends, the rocks, and sometimes they pray by dancing, leaping into the air and falling back again. These are all ways to pray, said Granddad, but there are more. The tall grass prays as it waves its arms beneath the sky, and the flowers pray as they breathe their sweetness into the air. The wind prays as it whispers and moans and sighs. It is saying a prayer and singing a hymn at the same time. A bird prays when it sings the first song of the morning, and it prays in that silent moment just before it sings. And the robin's last song at sundown is an evening prayer. All the beings of the world pray, said my granddad, as they slip through the forest or sparkle in the water, as they climb mountainsides or soar into the clouds or burrow into the earth. Each living thing gives its life to the beauty of all life, and that gift is its prayer. And I'm going to skip over a few pages. So if you enjoy this book, I would recommend getting it for yourself, because those pages are beautiful too. But when we had walked far enough, and Granddad said it was time to go back. But I had one last question. Are our prayers answered, Granddad? I asked. Granddad smiled. Most prayers are not really questions, he said. And if we listen very closely, a prayer is often its own answer. Like the trees and winds and waters, we pray because we are here, not to change the world, but to change ourselves. Because it is when we change ourselves that the world is changed. My granddad and I went for many walks after that, and I often listened for the prayers of the earth, but was never sure I heard them. Then one day, my granddad was gone, and no matter how hard I prayed, he couldn't come back. He wouldn't come back. I prayed and prayed and prayed until I couldn't pray anymore. And so I didn't for a long time. And the world seemed dark and lonely without my granddad in it. Until one day, I went for a walk. I found a big rock under some tall trees and sat down on it. Overhead, the branches swayed and a breeze whispered in the leaves. I heard a stream flowing nearby and a robin singing from a honeysuckle bush. And I heard something else too, something in the sounds of breezes and birds and water. I heard prayers. The earth was praying, just like Granddad said. So I joined in. Thank you, I prayed. For tall trees and sweet flowers, for still rocks and singing birds, and especially for my granddad. As I prayed, something changed, and my granddad seemed somehow near. And for the first time in a long time, the world seemed just right. So thank you for listening, and we can now take some time to speak of gratitude, what that role has been in your lives, or and we can share a few gratitudes each. Thank you for being here.